Welcome into the college show powered by Dynasty Nerds. That's right. No one's changed the name. I'm still saying it. I'm here with not Jared Wackerly this week. He's out of town. He's on a business trip to Cali. So we've got the other two hosts of the show with me here today. First of all, we have Andrew Ma. Andrew, how you doing, my guy?
Doing good, man. Big shoes to fill without Jared here, but hopefully we do a good job between Jagger and I just stepping in and maybe each taking a shoe.
There we go.
One shoe individually. I call the right one. So
okay, that's fine.
Jagger, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Like we were talking about pre-show, lots of wide receivers. This is my favorite position, but it's also the most stressful because there are so many draftable players to get through.
So many to go through. And once again, we're going to remind you when we do all of these, this is extremely, extremely early in the process. There is very little to no all 22 tape available on all of these players. So this is not anything that we're saying definitively with strong confidence. Once we start getting into December, January, February, we'll start feeling a lot better about these pre-draft takes, these pre-draft rankings. And of course, we'll have the nerd score like we always do. Jared and I have been doing it. This will be, I believe, year 7 now, which is kind of absurd, honestly. Nice. Of the nerd score. So we'll be breaking that down, and I'm sure we'll be covering it in this show as well. But today we do have our top 10 receivers, and like we've done in the other shows, we're going to break it down from 10 to 6, and then we'll do 5 to 1. So Jagger, let's start with you. Why don't you give me 10 through 6, how you ranked these receivers? Obviously still very early. We're not going to hold you to it, but how do you have them today?
Starting from the bottom at 10, it'd be Malachi Fields. And then 9, Aaron Anderson. 7 or 8, Deion Burks. 7, Jacoby Lane. 6, Makai Lemon. I joked with you guys that like Malachi Fields is his own tier because he's just big outside wide receiver. How I grade receivers, if you don't have elite speed or separation, you're going to fall towards the back end on a lot of stuff because they just tend to not do as well in the NFL as often.
Yeah.
But like Makai Lemon, Deion Burks, Aaron Anderson, they are the same archetype. They're these undersized slots that are super explosive. I don't mean any of this as a slight. I will say Makai Lemon, everyone's been trying to recreate Tyreek Hill. He's the closest I have seen on tape that looks like Tyreek Hill. So he's one that I could see that stays in this tier or may significantly jump as like a top 3 guy. But very fun group of players right here. And this is why I think that a lot of people are kind of sleeping on this class. Very reminiscent of 2023 wide receiver class.
I could absolutely see that. Some interesting names because I actually do not have now. I might have some in other spots. Do I have a single one? I don't think I have a single one.
Wow.
That's the same. So this is going to make for a very, very fun show. But it's funny because there were some names in there that you mentioned, like Deion Burks was like the one that just missed. Like I almost put him in and then he just missed the cut for me. So there's definitely some players that are right on the cusp there. And I have another guy that kind of fits into a similar mold that I did get in as the players you're talking about. So we'll talk about those guys in just a second here. But Andrew, let's move it over to you here. Who do you have 10 through 6?
Yeah, I'm going to preface this the same way that I did for our last show, where it's like, at this point in time, I'm giving you guys a list of players that I have looked at and I have watched. I have not watched everybody in this class yet, and I do not love everybody that is on this list, I think, by the time the NFL draft season comes around. So for me right now, at wide receiver 10, I do have Deion Burks out of Oklahoma. I got Germie Bernard out of Bama at wide receiver 9. I got Jace Brown at wide receiver 8 from Kansas State. Denzel Boston from Washington at wide receiver 7. And number 6 is Eric Singleton Jr. from Auburn. So that's kind of my list. But I feel the same way as Jagger. It's a fun group of guys. I think this whole group is going to shake up pretty significantly over the next 12 months. I just think that there's definitely traits from some of these wide receivers that are being slept on. There are some things that definitely these guys need to work on if we want to get some pretty good fantasy football production from them. But overall, a very interesting group. And as I've kind of started to look more and more into this wide receiver class, some of the narrative of 2026 sucks is starting to just minorly fade away for me just a little bit. Some of that narrative
I
is
like
going
the
away.
receiver class better. I agree overall.
I feel much better about the wide receivers than I do those running backs. When we were talking those running backs, man, the running backs got gross quick. Even at 10, I'm like, ooh, I kind of like some of the stuff that I'm seeing here.
Yeah, the running backs reminded me of like that Marshawn Lloyd year where I was like, wow, a lot of these are transfers that are really late that I'm hoping on prayers. And then this is why I said 2023, because I'm like, man, this Zay Flowers kid is good. Have you guys seen Jaden Reed? And this is the type of players that I'm looking at. And then like one Eric Singleton that you said, when I say just missed the cut, guys, he missed the cut because I haven't got there. He's like circled like I need to go.
I need to watch him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, I get you. Andrew, you said a name there that I thought I was going to be the only one to have him in the top 10. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on him because I do have him at 10, and that's Jace Brown, wide receiver out of Kansas State. Watching him, I've been really, really impressed. He's somebody that's been on my radar for a little while because I had him in a C2C league. And so he's kind of been one of those guys that I've kept an eye on him. And what we've seen even this year, I mean, he took a direct snap to the house, 75 yards. He can make small plays into big plays real quickly. So what are your thoughts on Jace Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I really like some of the physical traits of the kid. A little bit undersized. The weight that I had him at was 179. So that's something that I want to see him kind of bulk up a little bit if he's going to get to the next level, because it did show up a little bit where he's getting bullied by some of these bigger corners. He's getting bullied by press coverage and things like that. But other than that stuff, explosive athlete, big play threat. I think a player who has natural hands. He's running a very balanced route tree too. So he's kind of all over the field, running a bunch of different routes, which I love to see from a fantasy perspective, because a lot of these college guys don't run full route trees. They kind of get some gimmicky stuff. So the fact that he's doing it already, and he's a junior, you know, we like to see that junior declare more than that senior declare. So that's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on. And he's been very efficient with the touches that he's getting. So not a guy that's like, if you look at the box score, you're going to be overly wowed at based off of any of the production. I mean, last year went 47 receptions for 800 yards, but I think he pops off on tape. So I definitely liked him enough to put him here in the top 10.
You're saying all the words I like. That's another one. I'm like, okay, let's circle that one as a must watch. So.
Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. So yeah, let's get to my 10 through 6 here. I have Jace Brown, Zachariah Branch, Antonio Williams, Nyck Harbor, and Carnell Tate. So that's what I have in my 10 through 6 here. And Zachariah Branch is an interesting one because he's a player that popped off early. He was a player as a freshman at USC that everybody was like, oh, okay. And he was a highly sought after recruit. So he had some of the pedigree and things like that. But in his sophomore campaign, things did kind of fall off a little bit for him there at USC. Didn't get quite the run and the numbers that we were expecting. In fact, only one touchdown last season. So he fell way down on people's radar. But now we're here, and he transferred to Georgia, and he's already showed some of that explosiveness that we saw at USC. 47-yard touchdown earlier on in the year. He already has 2 touchdowns, so he's already eclipsed what he's done in the past. And it wasn't just poor competition. He did it last week against Tennessee, which was good to see. 5 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. So Zachariah Branch is somebody that I think was a big name, lost a lot of steam, and is now going to be climbing back up. And he falls, Jagger, kind of into that range that you're talking about. Some of these slightly undersized guys that are a little bit speed merchants. They've got the moves. We know that he's a good special teams player, which I know NFL teams like as well. Did either one of you guys consider him in your top 10? Or for right now, did he just kind of fall off the map for you a bit?
He's one that, again, that he's my priority list. Nyck Harbor, I've seen a lot of him, but he doesn't grade well for me. But Zach Branch, man, I watched that Tennessee game, and that end around touchdown was it was like, holy shit. That's all I can say about that. That was game breaking, like, speed, and exactly what you said. I own 1 devy share of Zach Branch. I'm only in 2 devy leagues, so I'm praying to God that this kid is something. You know. So definitely on my list of players. And I gotta ask you, man, Carnell Tate, is that you nerfing yourself? Like, aren't you a Ohio guy? It's like,
You
is
know
that
what?
you checking yourself a little bit?
There's a little bit of that there. I'll be honest. I tend to grade Ohio State players strict, simply because I do get a lot of that. Like, oh, you're a homer. You only like them because blah blah blah. And I was like, well, if you go back, like, sure, some guys like Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison got really good grades, but Chris Olave just got an okay grade for me. I did not like Trey Sermon when he was really getting hyped from San Fran. I was like, nope, guys, this isn't it. But I was really high on Dobbins. So, like, I try to be as fair as I can, but I'll be honest. Carnell Tate at 6 for me. Yes, that is a little bit of nerfing myself, but I've watched a lot of Tate, and he's fine. I think it's more the helmet. It's more he plays for Ohio State, and he's really, a solid player. He's one of their best receivers outside of a guy like Jeremiah Smith. And, like, he's a fine player, but he just hasn't done much for me to say, ooh, that's special at the next level. I think he does several things that translate. I think he's a very good route runner. He's got solid hands, and he can do some of that jump ball stuff when you need him to. He's not elite there, special there, but he can do all of those things well. He's a very well-rounded receiver, like you get out of a lot of Ohio State guys. Look at Emeka Ibuka right now. Look at JSN. Very well-rounded type receivers. He's going to fall into that lane, but he's not the talent that either one of those players are. So I think he's good, and I know a lot of people are going to have him in the top 3. To me, he's more of a day 2 type of receiver than a first-round receiver.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No.
Y'all gonna love
I think
my
that
top.
I guess we're gonna probably talk about him later because you have him up there, right, Jagger?
Yeah, dog.
Yeah,
It's
me
like,
too.
And right now, I'm definitely playing the NFL. He's safe right now
Yes,
because
100%
I just don't have confident grades, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, like,
No.
man, I am really in love with KC Concepcion, because I am, but I can't put him like at the top yet,
Yeah.
until I feel really good. So
Yeah,
Totally understand it.
I think he's
and
one
that's
of
what this is
the
for.
most pro-ready receivers in this class, in my opinion.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like, I don't see him falling much further than this in real life. Like, he's going to be safely in that top 7, 8 receivers. He's going to be a day 2 guy. I think the only question is, does he ascend to a first round guy, or is he a day 2 guy? And that's what I'm kind of waiting to see. Like, where does he end up finishing off with things? But it does help when you come from a place like Ohio State. LSU's similar in that sense. We've seen that in the past out of Alabama. Like, even sometimes the guys that are just okay there, when you put them somewhere else, you're like, oh, wow, they're actually really good. It's just a tough, it's a tough grading scale there. So we'll see. Neither one of you guys had Nyck Harbor, right?
No.
Yeah, he's probably going to grade low for me from what I've seen. That's why I put him, like, I don't see a very polished player, and I don't helmet scout, but I do coach scout, if that makes sense. And like right now, just the way that South Carolina runs their offense, I'm not incredibly confident that he's going to have a full route tree, because I love what Andrew said. Like route tree is probably one of the most heavy weighted grades that I have, just because it shows how you could be deployed in NFL. And I don't know if he has it yet, but then again, like, you look at DK Metcalf, he graded low for me. That was also like year 1 for me. I was basically like a kid watching like YouTube highlights then, but I'm just like, I don't know, he can't route run. And then he goes out and puts up that season. So, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Nyck Harbor is a really interesting one because he's 6'5", 230 plus. Like, I mean,
looks like a tight end, dog.
He does look like a tight end. That's the thing that does worry me a little bit about him. But I mean, he's got the good pedigree and things like that. And I've seen mocks from people that I do look at their stuff, and I think it's fairly trustworthy, that are put him in the first round of the NFL draft. I'm like, man, that seems high for me. So that's why he's in the 6 through 10 for me at 7, because I mean, in a lab, sure, like, you would love for your receivers to look like this guy, but that doesn't always translate to movement skills. And so far, I do have some concerns there. So the upside placed him inside the top 10, but I think he's probably one of, if not the most volatile guy in this group that could he enter the top 5 depending on how things go? Sure. Could he not even be close to this top 10? Absolutely. So I think he's probably the most volatile one in there for me. Andrew, who's a guy that we haven't gotten to inside your 10 to 6 that you want to make sure you get to talk about a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to just do this for Jagger because I don't know how much he's been able to watch Germie Bernard out of Bama, but I think just based off of what you say you grade on, you're going to end up liking this guy. The size is obviously NFL size, 6'1", 205. He really has been a guy that's transferred all around. He started at Michigan State, then he went to Washington, and then he went and followed Washington's coach over to Bama, and then he's playing there at Bama now. So this is just a player that I thought was really, really solid. I don't know if there's elite, like game-breaking traits from him, but when I look at his game, it's like all of these things are going to translate to the next level. He runs really good routes at all 3 levels, a good deep ball guy, a good intermediate range guy, runs good short routes, really reliable, dependable hands. I think he can play multiple receiver positions in the slot, outside, X, Z. He does all of the stuff. So he's just very versatile, and he has a lot to his game, and he's very savvy as a receiver. He just feels like a kind of like a veteran receiver out there on a college football field. So I think he's very interesting, just good traits that I like to see translate to you winning at the next level. I think he plays a little bit bigger than his size too. So even though he's 6'1", 205, he even plays bigger than that, especially at the contested catch point. He's maybe a guy that lacks a little bit of that long speed or that elite speed that's going to make him a vertical threat at the next level. But just a very, very savvy, very technical route runner and a good player that can play all over the field.
Yeah, I mean that's like you said, wow, man, that's a girl I'd swipe left, swipe right on Tinder like, right away. All the things that you said,
it's very safe. It's like it's girlfriend material there for you.
Yeah. Like I don't fall for the bad girls on there, like the I smoke cigarettes under the bleachers. That's how Nick Harbor is for me, because everyone's just like, ooh, he's so big and fast and strong. I was like, he'll break you hot. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Jagger, who's a guy in your 10 through 6 that you're like, I gotta talk about him a little bit?
Aaron Anderson from LSU, man. He is just a snappy route runner, man. Like everything he does on field, if you had just like a tracer, like an Etch-a-Sketch that followed him, he just draws perfect routes every time. He's basically a Smurf, like relatively speaking, like as far as wide receivers. But the thing is, I'm not like a BMI bro or whatever, where I measure everything on there, but I think BMI does matter, especially after we see Tank Dell take a hit. People like Tez Johnson that can't make it, but he's thicker. This is why I say Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill isn't 6 foot tall, but that dude is jacked like a running back. And I think Aaron Anderson has that. He's someone that he's probably going to go maybe round 3, but I am going to draft him everywhere because I see an immediate role for him in an NFL offense, that especially in PPR leagues, especially if a team wants a special teamer first that can eventually go on the field. I think he's a good bet.
And that makes a lot of sense too. We were talking about it earlier. There are certain schools that you do have a little more confidence in, and LSU is definitely one of those places where they just churn out players. Whether they were big time recruits, sometimes they are, sometimes they were guys that you hadn't heard of going into the process, and they developed them into special players at the next level. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Let's stay with you here, Jagger. Why don't you give us your 5 through 1?
5. This guy, I could see him being top 3 when it's all said and done. It's Chris Brazzell II from Tennessee, another transfer. Yeah, I like what Tennessee's doing, and for all you Tennessee fans out there, I have been ripping your school for 4 draft classes. I have watched the Mickey Mouse, Disney-ass offense for so long. You finally have a quarterback and a wide receiver. You have a wide receiver who can run a route tree, and you have a quarterback that can go through a progression. And it's like watching them discover fire, man. I'm really into him. Denzel Boston, he is the flimsiest one on this list. This is respect because there's a lot of things where athletically I'm a little bit concerned.
Yes.
Here's where it gets hot. Jordyn Tyson is my wide receiver 3.
Ooh, okay.
I'm willing to.
Okay.
I'll just put a pin in that, and I'll break that down later. KC Concepcion is my most confident grade right now. I have a lot of film on him, and I have the Notre Dame tape, which is everyone is gonna be talking about that Notre Dame tape come draft time. And my top one is Carnell Tate, and I already kind of prefaced why he's there. It's the safety thing. Like right now, he's got to be a first rounder just because of what he does and what the NFL needs. That's what I feel good about. So
awesome. All right, we'll get to those in just a second. But yeah, some really interesting names. I have a similar top 5. Obviously, Carnell Tate's a little lower for me. We already talked about him some. But Andrew, who do you got here?
Yeah, my number 5 wide receiver is Jacoby Lane out of USC, and I got his teammate at number 4, Makai Lemon. So I got both the USC guys back to back. Really like Makai Lemon as a player. But wide receiver 3 for me is Antonio Williams out of Clemson. Jagger, he wasn't on your list, was he?
No, and believe it or not, I was like last minute scouting. He was like, he's literally up in the queue. Once I get off this pod, I'm going to Antonio Williams on there. So please educate me.
I was like, either I really like him or you hate this guy because I think he's a pretty good wide receiver. He's my number 3 in the class. I got Carnell Tate at 2, and I got Jordyn Tyson at number 1. So that's my top 5 there.
All right, and then for me, I have Chris Brazzell at 5 as well. Then I have Eric Singleton Jr. at 4. At 3, I have Denzel Boston. At 2, I have Makai Lemon. And then I have Jordyn Tyson at 1. And Jagger, I echo a lot of what you say about Chris Brazzell. I'm really interested in him. And in fact, Jay Wack, who was going to be on this show but couldn't make it this week, he was like, dude, make sure you guys talk about this kid. I'm watching him. I really like what I see. He's definitely going to be in my top 5. He's like right now, honestly, he might even be my number 2. So he's very, very high on him. And I can see why, like from watching some of the limited tape, and he was a transfer as well, transfer to Tennessee, but he has the size and the speed that you want. But it's not just the straight line speed. There's some in and out, some movement skills there that were better than I would have anticipated for someone of his size. So I'm really, really interested in this kid. Excited to see kind of how he develops over the course of the season. But I know, Andrew, did you have Boston in your top 5 or no?
I did not have him in my top 5. I had Boston as my, I want to say 7 or 8. 7. He's wide receiver 7 for me. And I didn't have Brazzell on my list. I haven't watched him. So the way that you guys all just spoke about him, I got to go watch him now.
Yeah. And you guys with your Makai Lemon, that was me nerfing him because I'm it's like, man, I love this fast little wee lad.
Yeah.
Dude, he's so, I love him.
Yeah, he's really a snappy route runner. Like and like I said, everyone has tried to tell me this guy's the next Tyreek Hill, and I have not seen it. Makai Lemon, I think, might be like he just fits it. So like I almost want to like correction since you guys are doing it. You know, just
move it back up.
Let me move him up a couple spots real quick. Yeah, he ended up at 2 for me. And there was just a lot in his game that I think translate. And the nice part is, for being one of these like undersized slot type players, he's on the slightly bigger side of that. So he's kind of like right in between. He's a tweener there of like, could he actually play an outside role, an X role? I think it's possible, but I'm not going to be upset if he goes to the slot. That used to seem like a death sentence. And in today's NFL, man, guys in the slot put up numbers.
They eat.
Absolutely. So I'm fine wherever they end up putting him, but he does. He's one of those guys that turns normal passing plays into punt returns, and he can just make some fun things happen in the open field. He can make some guys miss. So very, very interested in him overall. But let's talk about Boston real quick. Boston's an interesting one for me because he's a little bit bigger. You know, when we look at some of these other guys and some of these slot players, he's a little bigger. He's a little more physical than some of these guys. But I hear you, Jagger, because I think you were the one that said, I am a little bit worried about him. Like, is he athlete enough? And I can understand that. What I like, what still gave me some confidence is that he was still a smooth operator. It wasn't clunky. It was just maybe not as lightning quick as some of the other players. So, it reminds me a little bit of a guy that was there before in Rome Odunze. Was he the snappiest guy? Did he break guys off? Not as much, but for a guy of his size, everything was still very smooth. I don't think he's quite as good of a route runner as Odunze was. I think Odunze was better at that. But I still think I'm seeing some similarities in their games overall. Andrew, I know you had him inside your top 10. What do you think about him?
He makes me nervous. I don't feel as confident in him, and I feel like when I was trying to write, because I like to put my little notes together and I have my strengths and weaknesses. I feel like when I was writing my strengths and weaknesses, it was easier for me to write weaknesses than it was to write strengths on his scouting report. I just feel like a lot of what I have as weaknesses is kind of what Jagger's already talked about. Lacks burst. I don't think he has a lot of burst, especially off the line of scrimmage. I think he's mediocre when it comes to change of direction. I think he's just a mediocre route runner in general. I said lateral agility and explosiveness is questionable. Like, these are things when you are a big wide receiver that make me get nervous, because it's like, are you going to be a weapon for your team, or are you just a red zone threat now? Are you just like a big guy? And that's kind of what I put as his strengths. Like, major red zone threat, enormous catch radius, strong hands, sneaky long speed for his size, but a nice contested catch receiver. And so I'm starting to think, like, I don't want to maybe give him this comp right away, because I think the play styles are different, but like Keon Coleman-ish. And I didn't love Keon Coleman when I was in my scouting. And I don't think he's the athlete that Keon was. Keon's more of an athlete, but kind of similar play styles and like how they operate as receivers.
I remember my score for Keon Coleman. It was a 74 out of 100, which is like day 2. And like a lot of people are upset. I'm just like, man, he can't separate. Denzel Boston gives me David Bell vibes. And I'm not seeing like a direct comp, but like that was a guy that was that was just super productive. And a lot of people like, he does all this stuff, and then he comes out as like a 6th round pick, and then like catches like 7 passes. That's what I'm worried about. Like, if I had to do this list again, like I would just swap Makai Lemon and Denzel Boston pretty easily, So
Jalen Polk, former Washington
I'm a
guy.
Pats
Jalen
fan.
Polk.
Don't say that. Don't say that name here, dog.
When they took him in round 2, I was like, wait, what?
It was wild. It was wild.
All right.
There's definitely traits. I will say there's definitely traits there, but he makes me so nervous based off of just like the archetype of receiver he is.
Yeah, I can understand that totally. So let's get to the elephant in the room here. Jordyn Tyson, Jagger. I think for most people, he's borderline consensus wide receiver 1. You have him at 3. So what's giving you a little bit of pause right now about Jordyn Tyson?
I always say this when I give comps, because it's almost like a Rorschach test. He reminds me of Jordan Addison. And I'm like, What does that mean to you? Because like, to me, that is a good and bad thing, where I could see him being a 1st round wide receiver. I'm not sure, right, from what I have seen, that he is a team's wide receiver 1. Because, and I'll tell you exactly, I actually have a lot of tape on him. Like, he's one of the few that we do have a lot on. He doesn't fight press well. He has very passive hands when it comes to man coverage. And that's Jordan Addison. Spacing is something that bothers me. He's one of those people who can run a route, but breaking it down in the nuance to get open due to understanding spacing, I don't see that. So when you have someone who has passive hands, he does this move where he always wants to do like the boxing feint instead of just fighting through with his hands. I just think that he's someone that can get clamped down by the Pat Surtains in the world. And he's always going to be a team's wide receiver 2. And if he does fall into a Jordan Addison role where he can be the wide receiver 2, then that's perfect. Or, which now it's crowded, like I think he'd be perfect if he went to the Buccaneers and he played in the Chris Godwin role and how they use him out of the slot. And I just think he's a little bit more limited for where people want him. And it's very key areas that I've seen in other wide receivers that get a lot of us in trouble and what they can do in the NFL and what their actual ceiling is.
All right, Andrew, where are you at with him?
I love him. I love him. I really do like him as a player, man. He's my bona fide number one. I replied to a tweet that Jagger put out the other day where he said Jeremiah Love is the locked and loaded RB1, and he said it was nobody else is really the number one for you, right? And I said for me, it's Tyson and Jeremiah, and those are the guys that I'm kind of like locked in at right now. The production last year was great. 75 receptions, 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. I think the only thing for me when I'm looking at Jordyn Tyson is the press coverage is definitely something I had on my report. I literally right here, it says in bold, can struggle against press. Like that is what it is for him. And in quotations, it says should bulk up at the next level. But the other thing is the medical history. The medical history is a little bit concerning for me with Jordyn Tyson. Had a knee injury in 2023, a collarbone injury in 2024. Just feels like he keeps having these nagging injuries that do take him off of the football field for a while. And I don't want to put too much weight on it, but it's definitely something that I'm paying attention to because you don't want to see that pile up in the college level, because then when it goes to the NFL, obviously that just gets even harder to stay healthy because all of these guys are just that much better. But I do think he's just a very explosive player. I think he's a savvy route runner. You said passive hands. I think he has natural hands. I think he has great ball tracking skills. Nice with insane body control is what I put in my notes. I think that's the basketball background in him. He played basketball. His brother got drafted to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like basketball is in the family, so the body control, the jump ball ability, like it is all stuff that pops out to me on tape. And I just think he's a really, really solid wide receiver that I'll disagree with you right now, Jagger. I think he can be the number one for an NFL team. I think he's a little bit better. And you said, what does Jordan Addison mean to you? I liked Jordan Addison coming into the NFL. So maybe maybe that's where this is at. So I just also got lucky that he got drafted to my Vikings. But I think he's a really good player. I'm very excited about him. If I had to draft today, which obviously thank God we don't have to draft today, but if I had to draft today, he would be my wide receiver one off the board.
To give credit where it's due, and I forgot to give this, I do think he's better than Jordan Addison in two areas because he is a better athlete, and he is like, and the athleticism shows up in yak. Jordan Addison was never like a good yak guy, and I think Jordyn Tyson can do it. So that's what, and when I say that he's my wide receiver 3, I mean that like I think that we could have 3 wide receivers go within like the first 20 picks, not so much like the 2023 where they all kind of fall towards the back end. And that's why it's always caveats on here. I was like, I think he's a good player. He would not where you're at, where he'd be my unquestioned first one off the board. He's not there. Believe it or not, if I am a coaching staff, KC Concepcion right now would be my top wide receiver.
Talk about him for a second, because he's one of those guys that I have not watched anything on so far. So tell me what you like.
Man, he just transferred to Texas A&M, and I just watched his old tape before he transferred. You hear clown music when that offense happens just because of quarterback play, but every time he got the ball, it was phenomenal. He's my best route runner in the class, and even with his speed, because he is a speed guy, he does the things that make him separate and not just someone who's going to run defenses downfield. Like, what was it? His Notre Dame tape is the one that pops out. That is an excellent secondary against a very good defensive minded team. He does stuff like he'll go full speed, torque down, and just go for it. Like his pacing, everything is elite. And even though he's only 5'11", I consistently see him stretch for the ball. He can do it. My biggest knock on him is sometimes he does wait on the ball. Then that's me just being nitpicky. And that's just something I do grade for. And when I say passive hands, sometimes I mean when you're fighting press, sometimes you just let people punch you. And KC Concepcion can do that a little bit as well. So,
yeah. So I'm interested to get into his tape and watch it because I have not watched any. But Andrew, I do want to go back to something that you said when you're looking at Tyson and his body control. That is actually something that we kind of did a an independent study on our nerd score. And that was one of the attributes. It was actually the top attribute when we graded it, that it translated the best for success at the NFL level from specifically our nerd score. So when we were grading for that, the guys that scored well in body control almost always, if within a certain range, almost always hit at the next level. And so that is something that is going to score very highly for me and is going to be a big part of the equation, because you do see guys that, they might have the size or they might have the speed, but it's not just simply, and I want to make sure I make this clear, because I've talked about it a little bit before, but there is a whole process to body control. It's not just, okay, the ability to get my feet in bounds. Sure, that's part of it, being able to figure out where the sideline is and toe tap or drag and all of that. Yeah, but it's all of the lead up as well to even catching the football, putting yourself in a position to be able to give yourself the easiest possible catch. And sometimes guys make it look really difficult, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes I love when guys are able to put themselves in a spot, time their jump accurately, and position their body in a way that blocks off the defender, so that way they are able to go up and make the catch. Maybe it's not as sexy as I reached around the guy in one hand, like, cool, that's dope, but that doesn't always work at the next level. So that is going to be something that I'm going to be watching for with Tyson as we get into the deeper tape study. But all of these guys, that whole process leading up is one of the biggest things for me in being able to determine, is this somebody that I think could be successful at the next level or somebody that I don't? There's only ever been 2 players that I would say in recent memory that were not great ball skills / body control guy, because I hold those 2 things in very close contention for what's most important to me. But when I put those 2 things together, there's only 2 guys that were not great at that, and that was DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill, and they're just absolute freaks outside of that. Everybody else, when you look at their ball skills, when you look at their body control, guys that aren't even amazing athletes, Cooper Kupp, comes to mind as a guy that was really good in those areas, and we see him successful at the next level. But you look at all the top guys right now, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, like all of these guys at the top, Amon-Ra, all of these guys do well in these things. So definitely something that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for with this class moving forward. Anything else you guys want to throw out there or touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about Antonio Williams, because I think he's really good wide receiver as well. I think coming out of Clemson, junior, we had this discussion last night, me, you, and Jared in the text, Garret, where was he a senior? Was he a junior? It's because he redshirted that sophomore year because he was injured. And so he's technically played 4 years of college, but he's a junior on ESPN. So I'm still going to call him a junior. You call him whatever you want. 75 receptions, 900 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns last year. Another player that has had some injuries. He's dealing with a hamstring right now, so he hasn't played a lot of college football this year. He had some lower body injuries that it was hard for me to find any information really about in 2023 that forced him to miss that time for that redshirt year. It wasn't clear what those injuries were. I was trying to dig into it, but all I got was lower body. But this is a player that when I watch him, again, another really, really savvy, crisp, nuanced route runner, a guy who's constantly creating separation. I think he has some really good yak ability. The body control that we talked about, with Jordyn Tyson, exceptional body control for Antonio Williams as well. I just think he's a super smart, very versatile football player that really adapts to coverage as well. And I think he's going to be a guy that is more of a slot wide receiver at the next level. Like we said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a death sentence. That's actually it feels like what we want these days. But he reminds me a lot of the Zay Flowers, like a Zay Flowers type of guy that comes in and can be a guy that if he's in the right offense, becomes very fantasy football relevant. And I just really like his tape. I think he's a really good player. There's a little bit of a lack of size, like I said, that probably limits him to the slot. I don't think he's going to be a guy that gets a ton of red zone work because of that size as well. And I do think there is a little bit of a lack of some of that home run speed, especially when he gets to the next level against tougher, faster competition. But if you're going to be winning all of these routes and you're that good of a route runner and you're going to be playing against, a savvy guy who can find the soft spots and zones, I'll take that in a PPR league all day long. So I really like him. He came in as my wide receiver 3.
Another one. You're saying all the stuff I like.
He came in at 8 for me, but part of that was I did ding him a little bit for all the injuries and not being able to play.
Okay.
Like, and those soft tissue lower body things do concern me. Those are not things that tend to go away. They're things that get worse over time. So that is a little bit of a concern for me, but you're absolutely right. Very savvy. He also seemed to understand being able to sit down against zone defenses as well. He would find the soft spot there. Really, really liked that because that's big in zone out of the slot. Being able to find those soft spots in the coverage is really big. He seems to have a good football IQ out there, which I really like. So definitely an interesting player.
Yeah, I really liked him. And I think, Jagger, I think you and I might have the same type, honestly, when it comes to wide receiver.
Yeah, like I want you to run routes, man. I don't care if you're 5 foot tall. I don't care if you're 6 foot tall. I just need you to run routes, and that's like the biggest thing I do. What's funny, Garrett, what you said about spacing, I do grade for that, but the way I grade for it, because it does matter, I break it down into 3 parts because all the things you said of why it's complicated, like can you time and high point a ball? That is like one thing. Can you physically move and adjust your adjust your body in
ball
space?
Tracking skills? Yeah,
that's ball tracking is a whole other one. It's actually like 4 things. I think I grade separately for 1 through 5.
Oh, nice.
That make up just body control.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'm loving doing these college shows. It's helping me get ahead of things and getting my scouting done a little bit earlier, which is never a bad thing. Having a great time with these. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them as well. Make sure you tune into all of our content. We have podcasts literally coming out every day of your work week, Monday through Friday. So make sure you're tuning into all of that. Tons of stuff here on YouTube. So making sure that you're liking and subscribing our stuff. We greatly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next Friday.
See you later.